In the headlines, authorities given an assignment to determine why nurses are leaving the profession. The political parties gearing up for the final 7 days to by-election. Prime Minister Mottley reflects on the arrival of the olive blossom 400 years ago. And in sports, 3 Windies cricketers return for duty in the IPL after the all-clear is given.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC NewsNight, starting now.
Good evening and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Titia Hines with the details to the news. There's a call tonight for authorities to face and address core issues driving nurses to leave the profession and causing new individuals not to pursue the career. It's coming from Director of Nursing Services at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, Henderson Pinder, who's declaring the nursing profession is undervalued, underfunded, and underutilized. Pinder made the call to action while addressing the Barbados Nurses Association Education Seminar and Awards at the Barbados Beach Club. Our Anesta Henry has that story.
Director of Nursing Services at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, Henderson Pinder, is declaring that in order for Barbados to have a strong economy, the shortage of nurses must be addressed. He says this is critical to maintaining dedicated nurses and to encourage new nurses to join the profession.
As we look around the world, there's a deficit of over 9 million nurses. And the International Council of Nurses have said that in order for us to bring the situation under control, we need another 30 million healthcare workers to help. We are faced with a problem then. But despite the awareness of these problems and these crises, many countries, like Barbados, rely on short-term solutions like international recruitment and task shifting to less skilled workers. In many instances, this fails to address the cause of nurse retention, recruitment, and in some cases are actually worsening the problem.
And Mr. Pinder is also encouraging nurses not to normalize violence by being fearful of retaliation or consequences of reporting.
Nurses responding to a survey reported experiencing violence from patients and the general public. But what is worrying, some nurses also reported that unfortunately they face violence from co-workers. This violence, coupled with burnout, chronic stress, and other factors, significantly undermine nursing retention and contributes to a toxic work environment.
President of the Barbados Nurses Association, Dr. Faye Paris, is reassuring nurses that the association continues to advocate for safe staffing and fair compensation. She says the association is also pushing for policies that ensure safe working conditions, appropriate nurse-to-patient ratio, and better compensation for the healthcare workers.
We also recognize the importance of mental health and wellness support, recognizing the challenges nurses face. The BNA is looking forward to implement wellness programs and to provide peer support networks to prioritize mental health well-being. We also look out to partner with persons who provide mental health support and promote self-care for nurses.
Scores of nurses from across the healthcare system attended the seminar, which is the marquee event for the 2025 Nurses Week activities. Themed Our Nurses, Our Future, Caring for Nurses Strengthens Economies. Anesta Henry, CBC News.
Central Bank Governor Dr. Kevin Greenidge is calling on players in the insurance sector across the region to spread awareness about financial education among the masses. Dr. Greenidge is insisting this is a significant step since the insurance sector is critical to the region's overall economic stability. He was speaking to financial advisors and insurance agents at the Wyndham Grand Barbados Sam Lord's Castle. Anesta Henry was also there.
The region's insurance penetration rate stands at 2.18%, trailing significantly behind the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development penetration rate of 4.6%. Insurance penetration rate is calculated as the ratio of total insurance premiums to the gross domestic product of a country or region. Governor Greenidge says this gap represents not just a statistical shortfall, but a pressing opportunity for financial education and awareness to be expanded throughout communities.
But let us remember, insurance transcends more than policies and premiums. It embodies security, stability, and safeguarding the collective future.
The Caribbean is becoming increasingly vulnerable to economic disruption as a result of climate crisis and a shift in demographics, with an aging population and declining birth rates. Governor Greenidge says this is why insurance agents and financial advisors are the bedrock of financial protection.
And the investment decisions made by the insurance companies like yours will prove instrumental in driving Caribbean economic growth forward. Of course, we all know that no economy can fully address its citizens' long-term needs only through fiscal measures alone. Instead, we must harness our people's collective savings through strategic investments that accelerate economic growth.
During the event, industry great Monica Robotham was inducted into Carifa's Hall of Fame. The 65th president of the Jamaica Association of Insurance and Financial Advisors, Robotham is a chartered life underwriter and also holds the Chartered Financial Consultant designation. Ms. Robotham says she is humbled to have received the prestigious award after 38 years of service.
I have come to realize that it is not always about the PhDs and the masters or being a CEO of a company or starting a large company or doing those kind of things. Whether you were life member, top of our court of the table, CEOs or whatever thing. Qualifying for MDRTs and conventions and all that little thing, those things that are absolutely good. But what I realize is that sometimes it's just about the lives that you touch along the way.
The Congress concluded today. Onesta Henry, CBC News.
Now, as we hit the campaign trail with 1 week to go, it was a hive of activity in the Bees camp as they prepared. The Barbados Labour Party candidate for the St. James North constituency, Chad Blackman, is ready for the by-election. Campaign manager, Deputy Prime Minister Santia Bradshaw, has been out and about meeting with constituents and sharing the big plans he has for the constituency. Ms. Bradshaw gave CBC News an update on how the campaign is going during an interview at the constituency office.
Been requesting a number of appointments with him. People want to see him, and I think that that's been positive, and he has been equally responsive to the needs of people to see him as well in the community. As we get ready for the campaign, the office is a hive of activity. We have a number of persons from the area who have volunteered, who are supporting the campaign. We're busy today, obviously, getting the circulars ready. The campaign office is, sending out the canvassers into the area to go ahead of Chad as he gets the opportunity to meet with a number of people in the community. And overall, I think we're ready, we're getting ready, and we're ready for the election on the 21st of May.
Ms. Bradshaw says even though inclement weather restricted the campaigning effort over the past several days, Chad Blackman kept going.
The weather would have impacted us somewhat in terms of being able to get onto the ground. It would have stopped a few of the meetings, some of the smaller meetings that we would have had. But I think it also gave the opportunity for the entire team and all of us as part of the cabinet to see some of the issues in relation to not just flooding, but some challenges generally that people have in the community when you have heavy rains. And I think that has been a positive for Chad as well, being able to see firsthand what some of the issues are. And the things that obviously is part of his campaign that he wants us to address, moving forward as well. So I think the rain has stopped us in terms of physically being on the ground, but for the most part, we've been able to continue our telephone canvassing. We've been able to allow him as well he's doing his own canvassing on the phone and talking to people and interacting with people where the weather has not permitted him to be outside on the ground.
Democratic Labour Party candidate for the St. James North by-election, Felicia Djon, says she is not challenging her main opponent, Chad Blackman's weight, but rather his integrity. In fact, addressing the opening of her second constituency office at Rockdundo, St. James, Djon declared she would not get personal and comment on Mr. Blackman's size, since he is a child of God.
The Barbados Labour Party was the one who decided to become personal by saying big this and big that and big that.
True.
Constituents, voters, and Barbadians, we do not take those things into consideration. What we take in consideration is your heart, your soul, your spirit, your integrity. So what it does for me is that I would never make any comments on anyone's physical attribute. Because someone's physical attribute is something that comes from God, and you don't do that. Right. But what I will do, I will challenge his integrity. Right. I will challenge his integrity by what he does and who he associates himself with.
Ms. Djon says her manifesto is now available for constituents to assess.
I have already shared my manifesto with you. You should be receiving it as of today. You should have your manifesto that I have dealt with not only in terms of agriculture and the kind of intervention that we're looking forward to. In terms of education, having after-school programs for young persons. In terms of youth development, we're ensuring that we have the facilities and the spaces for our young persons. Men and women can come in and do the type of training that is needed and skills that is needed to empower them.
Independent candidate contesting the St. James North constituency seat in the upcoming by-election, Stephanie Williams, says canvassing has been going well. Williams of the Community Empowerment Party, CEP, says constituents have been voicing concerns which they say have gone unaddressed for a long time. But she says, unfortunately, she's been facing challenges garnering support for her campaign.
And this is the first time I'm doing anything like this, but I have found that persons feel like if they reach out to help, they'll be victimized or discriminated against. Even in terms of doing a spot meeting, persons believe that if they help me, it will be saying that they're with me. I mean, I even had one lady who said, yes, you can, and then when they called her yesterday, she said she doesn't want to do it.
Nevertheless, Ms. Williams will be holding a spot meeting at Trent's Tenantry, St. James.
I couldn't find any place else to do it. So the young lady, she allowed me to use out front of her house. It already has a tank set up. And please, it may not have any light, but I will be there and I will be saying what it is that I need to say.
Will you be on a speaker or you have any guests or anything like that?
Well, I have one other speaker who has said that she will come and say something on my behalf as a friend, and I can really appreciate that. Being an independent is not easy.
He is the oldest living male in Barbados, and he drove himself to State House on his 100th birthday to meet Her Excellency Dame Sandra Mason. On the radio program Let's Talk About It, Fitzgerald Brereton, now 103 years old, told host George Griffith he does not have any answer to give to him for how long he's lived.
That is something that has been asking me all the time. Mm-hmm. But that is something that that is in the master's hand. I can't contribute anything to my longevity.
Right.
The master, all of us is born to live a certain life, certain time. And that is all in the master's hand. Mm-hmm. I can't contribute nothing to that.
Yeah.
The former engineer who reads the lesson at the St. Luke's Anglican Church said he chose to learn a trade instead of going to the Lodge School and had some advice for today's people.
I always give very good advice. I think it is very good advice. Trust in the Lord.
Yes.
Trust in God, man. God is his body to make all things right.
Yes.
And as my grandmother she took me to church as a little boy, and I hold on all the time. And
yes.
I find that is the faith that I have.
Yes.
If I don't go to church Sunday morning, I feel I've done something wrong.
Oh, boy.
Well, that is some great advice indeed. Well, coming up, the Prime Minister reflects on the arrival of the English settlers 400 years ago. Some 400 years ago, the olive blossom arrived in Barbados, marking the start of what has been described as one of the darkest chapters in the nation's history. Prime Minister Mottley said today, "We stand together stronger and focused on reclaiming our Atlantic destiny and affirming that our greatest chapters are yet to be written."
Today, we honor those whose lives were forever altered. We celebrate the indomitable spirit of their descendants, and we acknowledge how far we have journeyed and how far, my friends, we still must go to reclaim a stolen destiny for the benefit of the past, present, and future of the global African diaspora and the entire world. From the struggles of bondage to the dawn of our proud republic, Bajans have met every trial with courage and creativity. As W.E.B. Du Bois reminded us in those words that echoed across centuries, and I quote, "You are not, and yet you are. Your thoughts, your deeds, above all, your dreams still live."
Ms. Mottley now calls on all Barbadians to renew our pledge to teach our children the full truth of our heritage, live by the principles enshrined in the Barbados Charter, to spread the benefits of progress to every corner of the island, and spread our hands in friendship to all nations as a beacon of justice and humanity.
And so today, my friends, is not simply an anniversary of sorrow. It is actually a celebration of resilience, of innovation, and of unity. It is a testament to the unbreakable bonds that join us to one another and that join us to the wider Caribbean civilization and the wider African diaspora. It is a reminder that though our past was marred by injustice, our future, yes, our future, remains ours to forge.
Now switching gears, the Barbados Police Service is seeking the public's assistance in identifying 2 persons of interest who are wanted for questioning in connection with serious criminal matters. Pay attention to this video coming up. Any person who may know the identity of these persons in the video is asked to contact the Criminal Investigations Department CID Northern Division at telephone number 419-1737 or 419-1730, Police Emergency at 211, or Crime Stoppers at 1-800-8477, or call the nearest police station. Members of the public are also reminded that it's a serious offense to harbor or assist wanted persons. Any person caught committing this offense can be prosecuted. There's been an uptick in loans from the Student Revolving Loan Fund. That's according to Assistant Manager for Marketing and Business Development, Alan Roach, who says people have been seeking loans to pursue studies locally, regionally, internationally, and online, both part-time and full-time. He says the COVID-19 pandemic did affect people going overseas to study and ushered in a new era of online studying worldwide at accredited institutions.
there has been a general uptake. I can't say exactly how much, but persons are constantly interested in studying. And what we've noticed is that persons are studying at all different types of levels. We got persons who are studying at the vocational level, trying to upskill themselves to be able to open businesses, etc. And we have people still pursuing PhDs, etc., and doing professional certifications to be able to claim in their careers. So we have persons coming directly out of school who are looking to get into studies all the time, and then we have persons who are working, who are looking to upskill all the time to be able to claim the career ladder. And then, as I mentioned before, persons who are looking to be entrepreneurs.
Additionally, Mr. Roach says they're also evolving to offer loans for back to school along with other avenues. And they have developed a loan specifically geared toward those people who require equipment for their respective studies. He says there's a great interest in the online learning platforms, which are easy and more flexible.
We have 2 programs which we offer that are strictly online. We offer them through another company in Canada. We do cybersecurity programs, and we do artificial intelligence program and all of those programs are online, strictly online. So we are definitely vested into the area of persons studying online and even working remotely. But the cybersecurity program prepares you to work remotely in cybersecurity. So does the artificial intelligence program through our partners, Protexa and the Ministry of Education.
Sports Night is brought to you by Power In. Pause is power. And by Dasani. Live first, Dasani after.
Well, it's time for a look at sports with Anne-Marie Burke. Hey, good night to you, Anne-Marie.
Good night to you, Tisha. Princess Margaret have been crowned the winners of the inaugural George Nicholson Secondary School Touch Rugby Tournament. The Garrison Savannah came alive recently for energetic action between 3 teams as the inaugural Inter-School Touch Rugby Tournament kicked off. A squad from Christchurch Foundation and a combined schools team took to the pitch along with Princess Margaret on a breezy but overcast morning. The tournament culminated with combined schools facing off against Princess Margaret, whose dominant player Trey DeMond scored a hat-trick after his teammate Chandre Haynes put one on the scoreboard. Brandon Waldron scored twice and Giovanni Hamilton once for combined schools. The event also featured demonstration touch rugby matches involving women, men and veteran players. Liam Clark of Warren's Primary and Yasmin Eastman of Happyvale Montessori are the champions of the National Sports Council Primary Schools Badminton Competition. Playing at the Shuttlers Courts in Searles, Christchurch, Clark defeated Suraj Brathwaite of Alfalfa in the boys' final, while Eastman got the better of Jasmine Hope in the girls' matchup. CBC's Damien Best reports.
Primary school girls final featuring Yasmin Eastman of Happyvale Montessori versus Jasmine Hope of Charles F. Broome in the far court. Good rally before Hope goes long with the return. Eastman looking really accomplished, lethal with the drop shot. Attack was the name of the game, and Eastman driving, making it look so easy, wrapping up the first game at 11-5. Hope only benefiting from a couple of errors, work to do then in the second. At the turn, still no indication that proceedings would change. Eastman with those quick reflexes and placement up 6-1. Skip ahead, finish line in sight now, and she hits it with authority. Put it in writing then, folks. Eastman of Happyvale Montessori defeating Hope of Charles F. Broome in 2 straight. 11-5, 11-1 to take the girls' title. Next up, the boys' showdown. Suraj Brathwaite of Alfalfa back in the screen playing Liam Clark of Warren's Primary. This was an epic battle with both players trading points all the way. In fact, there were no extended rallies in the first. Clark producing the right mixture of finesse and attack to seal the opening game at 21-19. Brathwaite, not willing to entertain the prospect of defeat, was very clinical with the pressure on in the second. His footwork improved, and that led to several openings. The best of them here, driving from backcourt on multiple occasions. Clark applying more pressure. Brathwaite returns the favour and brings his opponent to the forecourt. What a point. So Brathwaite then taking the second game at 21-6. On to the tiebreaker, the third and decisive game, and Brathwaite looking to complete the come from behind win, draws first blood. He went up 5-1 and had all the momentum. What approach would Clark take to turn the tide? His drives nullified, and then the error. But where there's a will, there's a way. Call him the comeback kid. Clark drilling down and taking it 1 point at a time. We must say kudos to Brathwaite of Alphala though. He still managed to reach 17 before Clark inched ahead to snatch the win in the end and the boys' title at 21-17 in the third. Well done to both competitors. The future of badminton in Barbados looking bright. Damien Best, CBC Sports.
A noted university academic is calling for a labor demand survey to be conducted in Barbados. Professor of Management and Organizational Behavior at the Cayfield campus of the University of the West Indies, Dr. Dwayne Devenish, made the call during a panel discussion at the 65th annual luncheon of the Barbados Employers Confederation at the Lloyd Erskine Sandiford Centre today. Trevor Thorpe reports.
Discussing the topic, Barbados, a brain drain nation or an expat haven, Dr. Devenish told the large group of business persons and government officials such an exercise would provide data to help make policy decisions.
I believe a labour demand survey would not only provide us with where employers are in terms of the needs, the kinds of skills that they're requiring, but it would give us an understanding as to why we're seeing such an uptick in importation of labour from sectors that I've just observed, like agriculture and construction. When I was in St. Vincent, when we did the labour demand survey, it was around the time, and this was in 2020, this was at the height of COVID. I was going to St. Vincent, doing my work when most countries were under shutdown. St. Vincent was pretty active. And I remember during that time, when we had the results from the survey, which went into 2021, employers were saying that we needed more hospitality workers.
The university official complimented government for its labour supply survey already in place and suggested a partnership between the Barbados Employers Confederation and the Labour Department to work on such an initiative and make it either an annual or semi-annual affair.
But the idea is that if we can have such an exercise, we can make this exercise a staple, like how we have the labour force survey that's done every quarterly, but it could be done probably every year, because this is what I typically work. I develop a best practice manual for how to conduct labour demand surveys in St. Vincent, which can be done every year, and they take that data and they feed it into the educational sector. Because we talk a lot about, think about it, we talk a lot about migration, but we also have to talk about educational transformation.
In a wide-ranging address, Dr. Devenish said such a survey had already been done successfully in St. Vincent, yielding much success.
Having a labour demand survey that we can see if there's that mismatch between the labour supply and the labour demand. And when you put these two things together, you get then what is referred to as a labour market needs assessment. And I think that is what we need, that's where we need to go when it comes to the data to make policy decisions. I'm a strong believer in evidence. And I think that every policy or any policy that's going to be developed, whether it's a managed migration policy, or policy to reverse brain drain or to create brain gain, which is the inverse of that, it has to be led by evidence.
The university officials said agriculture and healthcare are also areas of concern for a labour demand survey. Trevor Thorpe for the Business Report.
Sports Night is brought to you by Power In. Pause is power. And by Dasani. Live first, Dasani after.
Anne-Marie is back for a second look at sports.
I promised road tennis, and in what was a keenly contested tournament, Rubens Diamonds team came out victorious in the Village Camp Shotgun Road Tennis Championships 2025, defeating RT Academy in the final. Here's a look at how it went. This showdown as the RT Academy and Rubens Diamonds teams face off for the finals of the Village Camp Shotgun Championship. And the juniors started things off in the orange for the Academy Kalani Ellis, taking on Diamonds Dimitri Lewis. And what kept working in Ellis's favor were the falls on Lewis's part, like this return into the net. What started as a pretty even matchup soon saw Ellis inching ahead. This time Lewis's return is too long out of court. Another point for Ellis. The boys switched sides mid-game, so Ellis is now facing, and we got better play as they were now fully warmed up. But again, Lewis couldn't get the return over the net. But Ellis was full steam ahead to victory. He comes to the net to salvage this one. Lewis thought he had an opening, but oh no, watch as Ellis delivers a lethal return, bringing the crowd to its feet. And this is where it was won. Lewis serves, but right into the net. Kalani Ellis wins the junior boys match at 21-9, giving the academy first dibs. The ladies were up next, and this is where Diamonds would get back into the thick of things. Maude Blunt in the green facing Maria Cumberbatch, and with that fault, Blunt was up 12-6. Blunt serves. What a sweet low ace to do the trick. But this was by no means a lopsided affair, as Cumberbatch was a strong opponent. Here's one of the longer rallies. Both ladies putting the power to the fore and backhand returns. Footwork and full use of the court on display. Spectators, I'm sure, are at the edge of their seats. There was a hush across the venue as the ladies went shot for shot, play for play. Nice floaters in between from both sides. But who will find that break? And Blunt finally gets the opportunity and seizes it, undoubtedly showing why she's among the best female players on the island. Blunt serves. Cumberbatch picks it up. Blunt goes for the kill, but Cumberbatch with a strong defense, so Blunt switches it up. Now that's a shot. And just to show the class of play, watch this exchange. Blunt saves the drop shot. Cumberbatch goes down the line. Blunt, great recovery. Cumberbatch keeping it going, and then Blunt changes gear. A soft touch. Effective. And while Cumberbatch truly showed grit and resistance, she just could not hold down Blunt, who took the game at 21-13 and leveled things up for her Rubis Diamonds team. And from here, the Diamonds just kept that momentum going. Azari Clark closes the screen up against Mosai Williams. Clark steps up to kill it. Williams says, oh no, but Clark, talk about a quick reflex. Knowing a win will put his academy side ahead, Williams was fighting on the other end too. Sweetly driven past Clark to his right. But in the grand scheme of things, it was Clark who fed off Blunt's win and just kept the pressure on, going low on the returns and with power, and enough to force Williams into errors that gave him the male B final win at 21-14. Diamonds up 2-1. Academy would then simmer things back down as veteran Adrian Scott here in the orange got the better of Marson Johnson, but it was not a walk in the park as Johnson had Scott on his toes. Too much on this return for him to respond. Johnson was actually up one stage 16-13, but as Scott applied the pressure, the errors started coming and he clawed his way back. Johnson now down a point 18-19. We need to get this one. We pick it up mid-rally. Johnson again into the net, giving Scott that opening. And this is where RT Academy was back in the running. Johnson again into the net. We're locked at 2 games apiece as Scott wins 21-18, so the captains will have to do it for either of their teams. And those 2 captains were Julian Michael Jackson White in the green and Sean Spencer. A win here is a win for the team, and boy were they going at it. Spencer switches sides and White is beaten, returning out of court. But White's style of play is to keep the rally going and frustrate his opponent into making an error. And Spencer was playing right into that. Losing composure, and White again is rewarded, taking the lead and maintaining it. So they switched sides mid-game, and that mattered not, as White just kept the pressure on. And this is where he claimed the match and his team's win. After a good rally, he went for the left drive and delivered. Julian Michael Jackson White beats Sean Spencer 21-13. Rubis Diamonds team winning 3-2 and are champions of the Village Camp Shotgun Championship for 2025.
And that's Newsnight. Thank you so much for viewing. Do enjoy the rest of your evening.